Hello candidates, I am going to dictate you a passage from editorial dictation. So please get ready for the dictation. The dictation will start after 15 seconds. There was an unsavory detail tucked away in the National Crime Records Bureau data for Bengaluru. The city registered 6 cases of acid attack, the highest for any metropolis in India last year. The city ranked third in crimes against women with 3,924 cases registered in 2022, though far behind Delhi, which retains its tag of the most unsafe city for women with 14,158 cases and Mumbai reporting 6,176 cases. Women continue to be an easy target with a staggering 4,45,256 cases registered nationwide in 2022, a rise of 4% over the previous year, while rape, gang rape, assault, and abduction top the list. Around 200 acid attack cases are filed every year. Acid attacks could be termed the most dastardly crime carried out viciously on an unsuspecting victim. Almost always the perpetrator is male, the victim female, and the motive is revenge. The reason could range from rejection of advances, property dispute, dowry harassment, and domestic abuse down to pain teaching her a lesson. It leaves the women scarred for life, physically and psychologically, and she also has to prepare for a long and lonely battle for justice. Such a case could languish for 5 to 10 years, and the conviction rate is none too encouraging. The most crucial issue here is the free availability of acid, both over the counter and online. In 2013, the Supreme Court banned over the counter sale of acid and instructed officials to issue acid sale licenses to selected retailers. It meant that buyers would have to share their addresses and photo IDs. Yet, an experiment just a couple of years ago by a film crew showed that acid can be bought freely at a local store without any proof of identity. Online sale gives a degree of anonymity, though it does leave a digital trail. In 2013, following the Nirbhaya gang rape case and Justice Verma committee report, the Union government recognized acid attacks as a separate offense with a minimum punishment of 10 years and maximum of life imprisonment. It is worrying that despite these measures, acid attacks are perpetrated with impunity. Given that this crime is common in neighboring Pakistan and Bangladesh too, it is a regional malaise. What we need is a concreted effort by the government, law enforcers, and civil society to end this heinous crime, starting with a crackdown on the casual sale of acid followed by stringent punishment. Does philanthropy depend on gender? Yes, if data collected by the National Organ and Tissue Transplant Organization is anything to go by. The Health Ministry body recently said that 4 out of 5 organ recipients in the country between 1995 and 2021 were men. On the other side of the life-saving exchange, 3 out of every 4 donations came from women, mostly from the wife or mother of the recipient. Only 1 in 10 donors is the husband of the recipient. Patriarchy may well attribute the phenomenon to mother's love or wife's devotion, but in the cold light of day, it is a visceral gender disparity. Medical experts say one of the reasons for this skew is the fact that there is a much higher incidence of liver and kidney disease among men compared to women. But it is also true that when a son or a husband faces such a serious health issue, all eyes fall on the wife or the mother as if it was their duty to donate their organs. This is especially true if the female family members are non-working women who depend on the male members for sustenance. If we look at the trend closely, one can see that the regions are more social than medical. It has more to do with an older cultural understanding that women are expected to take care of their family's health while men take care of earning. It is not that such a gender disparity is happening in our country alone. It is a global phenomenon with the proportion of female live donors being higher except in the Philippines and Hong Kong. Experts in the field are of the view that governmental intervention in the form of counseling and awareness creation is a must to address the gender gap. They say wherever proper interventions have taken place, the gender gap among donors has come down. There is no denying the exception that if a person needs a transplant, he or she should be able to get it. The government must ensure that there is no undue pressure on anyone to donate an organ. Enough safeguards within the law to ensure that consent is not forced are a must. But before getting informed consent, we need to create more awareness.